Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve hlul ukdeten min lisani yefkahu kavli. Selamünaleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. Let's start the discussion. Inshallah, the books are distributed, so we will tell you which page. But for those who are familiar with the structure, this is the 25th word, second light, second beam. Again, 25th word, second light, second beam, and I have as an app, so it doesn't show the number, sorry. 25th, second light, second beam, and then within second beam, we are studying the seventh mystery of eloquence. In books, it is 445. 25th word, second light, second beam, and seventh mystery of eloquence. Inshallah, we are starting a new topic today, special for the Eid. So Eid Mubarak, everyone, again. The 25th word in its entirety, it's about the eloquence of or miraculousness of Qur'an. It studies it from multiple perspectives. Here we will study a specific one, the one, let's say, one type of message that the verses in Quran delivers, and it will be about the disconnect between the causes and the output or effect. Okay? Disconnect between the cause and effect, how it is explained in Quran, how certain verses, actually, the style of verses dedicated to explain this important disconnect. This is the topic. Why we are studying this for Eid? Eid is all about. So let's start from there. What is Eid about? Zaha, help us, please. Thank you for your inviting facial expressions. What is Eid for you?
Me?
Yeah. What is it about?
It has a celebration of something. If it's after Ramadan, then we have kind of hard to put it into words, but just on surface level, it's just a celebration of something, of a period that during which we have been given opportunities to connect with the Creator, whether it's Hajj or Ramadan. At the end of it, being able to come together as a community, also, or just as an individual, taking that as another opportunity for worship, but recognizing that God sees all that you do, and inshallah, whatever you've been doing, you're rewarded for it.
Okay.
On
Alhamdulillah.
surface level, that's
Okay.
the
So can you pass the microphone to Zeren, please? She's being uneasy. She says, I know the answer, ask me.
I guess for a long time, Eid for me was what felt like a very well-deserved break from some arduous worship. So in Ramadan, for example, after the end of many days of fasting, Eid was very much a welcome, like, it's done. And I guess for me, I guess looking back, actually, for Dhul Hijjah, the Eid wasn't as impactful for me compared to Ramadan, just because, it feels like there are some people who are going on Hajj, and it feels more like it was meant for those people on that journey rather than for me, like here, not being able to go. But I'm slowly starting to realize that there are things that I'm meant to learn from this journey of Hajj that I can apply to my own life. So I guess Eid is, while it is a way to celebrate a long period of worship, I think it's also trying to do my best to take what I've learned from those, from either like the month of Ramadan or the first 9 days of the Hijjah, and try to renew my intentions from there and really look back, check myself, I guess. So I'm seeing it more like that, trying to at least.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. Any other ideas, opinions? No? Okay. Oh, you can keep it. Yeah. So just for the sake of time, maybe we can say that the Eids are like the pinnacle of a journey. With the Ramadan, during the Ramadan, you've been through a journey, as you said. And at the end, when we have the Eid, is like reminding ourselves or summarizing for ourselves, demonstrating what we've been learned during Ramadan, like celebrating kind of what is given to us. During Ramadan, you gave us this, oh our Lord, and we are celebrating it, celebrating the receiving of it, right? The Qur'an, the understanding of Qur'an for Ramadan, for instance, since Ramadan is the month of Qur'an. Similar with the Eid al-Adha, it's the a pinnacle or the end or the summary, maybe a celebration of the journey of Hajj, leaving everything behind, telling your Lord that I'm here, I left everything behind, I don't have anything, I'm just an abd. I declaim, what is the word? Unclaim, denounce every claim I had before. I am naked with just piece of cloth in front of you, right? I don't have any title, any jewelry, any, I don't know, the adornments, all these false claims. I left everything behind, and I sacrificed every attachment I had, right? And now I celebrate this new born baby myself. And so we said sacrificing, like inshallah, some of us will sacrifice animals as a demonstration of saying that the life is given by you. We don't have any authority over it. If you say, tell us, cut this, we will cut it. If you say, save this life, we will save it. It's your life, right? Denouncing every claim over life as well. So the sacrifice. Sacrifice means cutting false claims, false links between things. I claim ownership over my son, right? In the story of the Ibrahim alayhi salam. I claim ownership of the love towards my son. And the Creator says, cut this claim, sacrifice it. And the biggest claim, biggest false, the authority, false ownership we have is through this cause and effect. I work so hard, I become a doctor. I work so hard, I'm the best engineer. I'm the best mom. I'm the best father. I deserve this child, etc. You can extend the list. Why? Because we think there's a relationship between what we do and what we attain. We call it that we attain. It's not something given, we say, I attained it, right? That's the claim. So this Eid, inshallah, we will cut these claims, sacrifice the false authority of causes, are working so hard, my genes being the source of my beautiful eyes. I mean, if you have beautiful eyes. In my case, it's just an example, right? So, cutting all these claims, Now, inshallah, we will study this sacrifice as summarized in today. Our Hatib summarized it very nice, mashallah. Summarized in Allahu Akbar. Whatever you think is giving you what you have, Allah is bigger than, better than that. And also La ilaha illallah, right? We will study these two together, inshallah, today to celebrate our journey of Hajj. So who will read it? I already talked enough for the entire discussion. Okay, go ahead, please.
The seventh mystery of eloquence. It sometimes happens that in order to disallow apparent causes, the ability to create, and to demonstrate how far they are from this, a verse points out the aims and fruits of the effects, so that it may be understood that causes are only an apparent veil. For to will the most wise and purposeful aims are followed, and important results are obtained, is of necessity the work of one who is most knowing and wise. Whereas causes are lifeless and without intelligence. So by mentioning the aims and results, such verses show that although causes are superficially and as beings joined to and adjacent to their effects, in reality, there is a great distance between them. The distance from the cause to the creation of the effect is so great that the hand of the greatest causes cannot reach the creation of the most insignificant effects. Thus, it is within this long distance between cause and effect that the divine names each rise like stars. The place of their rising is this distance. To the superficial glance, mountains on the horizon appear to be joined to and contiguous with the skirts of the sky. Although from the mountains to the sky is a vast distance in which the stars rise and other things are situated, so too, the distance between causes and effects is such that it may be seen only with the light of the Qur'an through the telescope of belief. For example, then let man consider his sustenance, for what we pour forth water in abundance, and we split the earth into fragments, and we produce therein corn, and grapes, and nutritious plants, and olives and dates, and enclosed gardens dense with lofty trees, and fruits and fodder, for use and convenience to you and your cattle. By mentioning miracles of divine power in a purposeful sequence, this verse ties causes to effects and with words. For use and convenience to you points to an aim at its conclusion. This aim proves that within the sequence of all the causes and effects is a hidden disposer who sees and follows the aim, to whom the causes are a veil. Indeed, with the phrase, for use and convenience to you and your cattle, it disallows all the causes the ability to create. It is in effect saying rain comes from the sky in order to produce food for you and your animals. Since water does not possess the ability to pity you and produce food, it means that the rain does not come, it is sent. And the earth produces plants, and your food comes from there. But lacking feelings and intelligence, it is far beyond the ability of the earth to think of your sustenance and feel compassion for you, so it does not produce it itself. Furthermore, since it is remote from plants and trees to consider your food and compassionately produce fruits and grains for you, the verse demonstrates that they are strings and ropes which one all-wise and compassionate extends from behind the veil, to which he attaches his bounties and holds out to animate creatures. Thus, from this explanation, numerous divine names rise, like all compassionate, provider, bestower, and all generous. And another example. Do you not see that God makes the clouds move gently, then joins them together, then makes them into a heap? Then will you see rain issue forth from the midst, And he sends down from the sky mountain masses of clouds, wherein is hail. He strikes therewith whom he pleases, and he turns it away from whom he pleases. The vivid flash of his lightning well nigh blinds the sight. It is God who alternates the night and the day. Indeed, in these things is an instructive example for those who have vision. And God has created every animal from water. Of them are some that creep on their bellies, some that walk on 2 legs, and some that walk on 4. God who creates what he wills, for verily God has power over all things. This verse explains the wondrous disposals in the formation of clouds and causing of rainfall, which is one of the most important miracles of dominicality and strangest veil of the treasure of mercy. Like soldiers who have dispersed to rest, gather together at the call of a bugle. Clouds gather and form at the divine command, when their parts have been dispersed and hidden in the atmosphere. Then, like an army is formed of small groups, the pieces of cloud come together and form masses, which are vast and towering, moist and white, and contain snow and hail, like the moving mountains at the resurrection, from which the water of life is sent to living beings. But in its being, sent a will and purpose are apparent. It comes in accordance with need. This means it is sent. While the skies are clear and empty, the mountainous pieces of cloud do not gather together of their own accord into a great gathering of wonders. They are sent by one who knows the living creatures. In this distance, then divine names rise like all-powerful, all-knowing, disposer, designer, nurturer, succorer, and giver of life.
Okay, any initial comments? Like, who can summarize this picture? What's I? Where's my turn it on? Sorry for that.
That basically the Qur'an gives examples of occasionalism. So removing the cause and effect relationships that we observe in the natural world and assigns responsibility back to God, and even explains why things are done in such a way, like for convenience, for example.
Okay, Jazakallah. And for newcomers, we're using the microphone for online participants. We have a few online folks as well, so that they can hear. Oh, you want to say something?
Lawyer.
No.
No thoughts.
Okay.
It's a thick book. But it needs time to digest.
No objections yet? Okay. You want to say something? Oh, okay. Anyone? Eid Mubarak. Inshallah. So he says, in a very, let's say at the very higher level, when we look at the life, we see things coming together. One thing happens and then another thing happens. They are put next to each other. And we call some of them as cause, some of them as effect. Right? It rained, then the vegetation came about. Right? The rain is the cause, the vegetation is the effect. He says, yes, this is true. This is how we see in the creation. There is an order, and there is also what the word he says, the coming together, adjacent to each other. He used something else, and it doesn't matter. They are touching to each other, let's say, right? Temporally and also spatially. You see the life, the creation this way. But he says, so that you see how these are so disconnected in reality. These ayahs that we read talks about some qualities, some goals, aim, purposes that manifest in effects that you cannot see in the causes. Hence telling us that the cause cannot be the actual cause of the effect. Okay? So they are separated out. And through this understanding, the author says, you can connect all these effects directly to the creator. The big picture summary, right? So, any comments now? What is your first, let's say, reaction to something like that? And all of us studying sciences, except the lawyer guy. Just kidding. So everything we learn is based on cause and effect. So the denying it, kind of, I don't know, shooting ourselves in foot, right? What we do. This poor lady, she's studying physics. So what she will do? No reactions. Oh,
Feel like you get caught into it, like how we experience life and how we live life. It's a lot of things that we experience in our daily life. It's you take these things for granted. Like right now, thinking about all of those things, yes, maybe I can think about, oh, it's not causing this, but like in my day-to-day life, like I've experienced this. It's like maybe I do something and then I think, oh, maybe I did this, or maybe it's happening because it's the natural way of things being done. So I think it's a big thing that we need to think about and integrate into our daily lives, and like be very vigilant about it, because like you have to think about it actively, and that's the way maybe you can better yourself maybe. So
I think to add to that, or to make that point even clearer, it's so easy to see it in these settings, like where we are right now at halakas. It's extremely hard to have that present in our lives. It's easy to say, oh yeah, I'll think about it, or I'll try to think about it more actively. But like, if we could discuss, like, what are some practical ways that I can turn that promise or that intention into actually, hey, like, these are ways that I can seriously think about these things, because there's like a lot of things in their lives that are cause and effect, or appear to be cause and effect. And I guess not all of them are as clear as Allah is being merciful by sending water to, grow the crops.
I think the way Quran is structuring sentences one after the other is teaching us a way to think. So, because the beginning verses was sort of explaining one after the other how water comes, and then earth is split, and then corn, grapes, and nutritious plants are produced, olives and dates are produced. This is what we do in our study of sciences as well. The sequence of events, and then we say, okay, first this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and I eat and I survive. Like, this is where I stop. But Quran, by adding the last sentence, for use and convenience to you and your cattle. Like, if Quran didn't mention this, would I not also think that this is for humans' use? I guess this is clear, like that we benefit from that. The fruits are being produced, dates or grapes are being produced, so that I and our animals are benefiting from them. So that is a purpose in there. So then how is Quran's approach different in here, other than our scientific way of studying the sequence of events? Like, what does Quran bring to the table extra in here? Because generally there's this myth of religion explains why, science explains how. But in here, what's explaining in terms of why is not really why, in the sense of religion explains why things are being sent. Like the last sentence in here, for use and convenience to you and your cattle, is if this was a text from I don't know, if we didn't say that this is a verse of Quran, and then say that, look, all this is happening, and what is the outcome? You and your animal is benefiting from this. Like if this would have been the claim, you would say, yeah, you're right. Like the outcome of this sequence of events is really me as a human and animals benefiting from it. How is this different than our scientific approach? Because it looks like there's a difference. How is being explained? And at the end, a outcome is put in there. But this outcome is changing the value of things. As an example, Drexel had almost came to the edge of a lawsuit because there was some hate messages written in Chabad house, like the Jewish house. Some hate message was written there.
I hate people for my life.
Yeah, something like this. So, and then Jewish students on campus didn't feel secure. Why? Because like normally it is just a bunch of letters written somewhere. But any people in their conscious mind knows that this message means something. Like there's a message that this ink that is put on this wall represents. And it's not a good message. So they felt insecure. This is why they sued. And then actually, I don't know how many students Drexel has. Everybody needed to go through an education of racial discrimination and whatnot so that they're going to forgive university. It was a big deal. It's simply a piece of ink, if you think about it. But there's a message behind this, and any person in their sanity understands this message. So what is the message in fruits coming from earth? For you and your animals to benefit from it. Good. But what does this mean? There's this conscious message in there. How about the causes that we have listed so far? Does any one of those causes have the conscious ability to produce such an outcome? This should be my question. Because in our example with Drexel, if we were to say that, ink, and it cannot sometimes stay inside this gas tubes, those, so it just came out, and made this shape. I mean, the next day they would shut Drexel off just because of such a nice explanation. But scientifically, yes, the ink came out of this tube under pressure. It's not wrong, actually. But it's not explaining anything. So what is missing in our scientific endeavor versus Quran suggestion could be something to think about.
I think what you said was really interesting. And I think one of the things about what you were saying is that what the verses are describing is not like, in some ways, it's not a divergence from science because it's not saying that there isn't a design. It's saying there is a design, but this is the reason for the design. It's not saying that there isn't cause and effect, that rain doesn't come down from the sky and that fruit doesn't come out of the earth because of the rain. These things all happen, but there is this design. And so in some ways, the endeavor of science is to understand the design. It's to sort of identify, that's a large part of science, right? It's observing and identifying the design. Okay, this happens, therefore this. Once this happens, therefore this. But then I think the other thing that, science is often lumped in, we say STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Okay, those are the last two. But I think the important piece is technology, because it's we identify the design and then we want to interfere with it. And that's where I think where things diverge really, in the scientific field from an Islamic paradigm. because it's not to just to identify the design and marvel at it or appreciate it or learn to work within it. It's like a lot of the technology that human beings have created have basically tried to hijack the design and then cause, corruption on the land and seas. Like, so I think that's the part of, like, I think the Quranic endeavor here is like it's explaining the design so that human beings can appreciate and marvel at it and sort of function within that design and learn the limits of, like, okay, so if I disrupt this design, then bad things will happen. Whereas, modern technology doesn't take that into account.
Does that clear? Oh, you want to say something? Okay. It's not because you want to get rid of the baby, right? It's just you really want to say something. Okay. I would understand. I would empathize. Yeah. Yeah.
I think another thing that this verse made me think of, your comment made me think of, is that one thing that the West tries to do in science is to say that there is just an objective reality that has no value. Nothing is good or bad. There's just facts. This is kind of the Western scientific approach. We just have X, Y, Z. They have these rules that put them together. The world is purely material and it works according to these rules, and we just need to figure out the rules and then use them to our benefit. Whereas my understanding is that in the Islamic approach, everything is a sign of God. Everything is supposed to point you towards goodness. So when the Quran gives this example of like the water coming down, the plants growing, us benefiting from it, that is the end goal, as you said. We receive benefit from it. This benefit should point us to God. Whereas in the way we learn science in school, there is no end value to it. It is presented just as some objective, thing outside of us, not as part of this, intrinsic, comprehensive universe that we're all connected to God. No, there's universe. There's us watching it.
Does that clear?
The other.
Oh, please.
No,
Please. Just because of the stuff.
I had like slightly unrelated comment as well about cause and effect. So when you do like scientific research, you realize very quickly that it's very difficult to establish causality in any kind of experiment. We often look for like correlations between X and Y, and then kind of the way to establish causality in science is you don't just look at X and Y, but then you look at like A, B, C, and D. And if all of that is consistent with each other, then you say like, oh, we found the mechanism for how these two things work together, because we can explain maybe 4 or 5 steps deep how this works. But you can also question those A, B, C, D. Why are those working? And you can keep going down and questioning until you will always like hit a wall where you don't know why something is happening. And I think, when I see like, a lot of correlations that make sense, like the water comes down, the crops grow, I understand this as like the sunnah of God. This is sunnatullah. Yes, this is usually how things work. Maybe 99.9% of the time, this is how things work. But the actual like moving cause of all of it goes back to Allah. Whereas, in modern science, we try to say X goes to Y goes to Z, A goes to B, and we call it a day. But then you can question, why did what caused X? What caused the thing before X? And usually science stops there and like, we get into like the quantum realm where we don't know what's going on. Sorry, I took.
No. Jazakallah. We have some objections here. I'm just trying to heat up the discussion.
No, you know me. Yes, some of the questions that may arise, like as brother was saying, it's like, why is this designed such a way? Like maybe for a normal human being who's not learned it this much or who has not paid attention, maybe, or for me even personally, I would just think like this is the cause for it. Like if I go to the gym and like do something, I build muscles, stuff like that. It's very common. Why is it like that? Maybe. And then another like top-down approach, another question that could be is, why was it designed this way? Like, now, why not just like crops grow and like stuff like that? That could be another question. And one, I don't know if you want to touch this topic, but the concept of wasila, like this is happening through this, like could we maybe touch upon that as well? And is there anything in Islam or like religion that pertains to that or no? Like this person prayed for me, so this is why I got this thing.
I see. Yeah. It's not much different than, the materials, the cause. Okay, let's wait and then, but if you want to, okay. When it becomes clear, when the clouds gather together in your mind, the rain. Okay, so, yeah, there are a lot of depth. There's a lot of depth in this topic. So maybe where we can start is the question of how Aya is studying the event or the experience. We can start from there. So before that, maybe one example. So when you are, if you are, let's say, a professional parent, unlike myself, right? When you want to teach something to your child, and child needs to learn things, and most important thing for a child to learn how to ask things from the parent, okay? And you teach them. You say, okay, if you call me this way, I will give you this. If you call me that way, I will give you another thing, right? If you ask nicely, for instance, you will get the ice cream. But if you ask not nicely, you get something else that you wouldn't like, right? So whatever it is in your culture, not ice cream. By doing so, you teach something to child. You teach what's the word you use, the system or order, doesn't matter. Let's say design. Yes. You teach something to child, an order, a design you teach, right? At that time of the day, we sleep, you teach. When it is darker, the sky, we start, getting prepared for the sleep. There's always a design, there's always a order in your relationship with a child. Again, if you are a good parent, unlike myself, whatever you do with the child, there's always an order, and you teach. One day, child starts speaking, and she learns the order perfectly, and come and tell you that, oh, do you know what? There's a cause and effect relationship in my house. Every time I say ice cream, an ice cream pops up in front of me. So my telling ice cream, my articulating the word ice cream creates the ice cream, she says. You know, wow, very interesting house. She says, every time I say this way, I find myself moving that way because my father carries me that way. So there is such a cause and effect, she says, right? And if you are a sane person, you would say, there is something wrong with your interpretation, don't you think? But she says, like, every time I say ice cream, there's an ice cream. You cannot deny that. Every time when I'm in my dad is holding me and I show a direction, point a direction, I find myself going there. These are all facts. You can, do the statistics as well, and it works 100%. There's an order there. How can you deny this cause and effect, she would say. Again, as a sane person, you would say, lady, you are missing something. Your dad, your parent, just taught you an order so that you know how to ask things. So what is being taught is just an order of how to ask. Your parents, being nice people, They want to give you your needs. And because you cannot attain your needs yourself, they taught you how to ask for them. All you do is asking. You say, I want ice cream, and your beloved father or mother, because she loves you, because she knows that you are in need of ice cream or food, she brings the food for you. You fill the application, right, by saying ice cream. Application for need is fulfilled. And your mom takes the application. If she wants to give it, she said, okay, you ask it in the right way, I will give it to you this time. And sometimes, again, if you are a good parent, to teach the child again that you sometimes missing the point. You think you're asking, creating the outcome. Just to teach you that this is not the case, I will stop giving it to you for a moment, right? And then she says, ice cream, no ice cream produced. Now she learns that all she's been doing so far, just asking. And if the one who has the power and the resources for the need to be sustained, if he wants or she wants, provides you. So this is the order you observe in your house. Same facts, completely different interpretations. So when it goes to the creation itself, again, we have all these facts, counts. How many times we have this as an input and how many times we have that as an output. Our sciences are expert in counting things, right? We count the inputs and then we count the outputs. And we say every time these things come together, I have that. So there must be a relationship, a causal relationship between the two. And I will call it as a cause and effect. Meaning, cause creates the effect. But you can ask the same question. Does it really? Just your articulation of ice cream can create the ice cream? And the answer is no, right? Easy. Why? Now comes these ayahs. The ayahs explain why to say that articulation cannot create ice cream is so easy. The ayah says, look at the outcome. What qualities you see there in the outcome? Forget about the purpose, like why it is being created this way or so. What you see in front of you, the what question, not even why or how. First, the what question. What do you see there? What do you see in front of you? In the ice cream, right? We see something sweet. We see something cooked. I don't know if you call it cooking or prepared. Prepared and then put on top of a cone or maybe stick, right? You see knowledge there. You see power there, power to bring things together. Knowledge of putting the right things, right ingredients together. You see a wheel there, a choice being made, the strawberry versus vanilla, right? Sweet versus salty. All these choices are made. These are the qualities I see there. But when I look at your claim, the input, the cause, my articulation, I said ice cream and ice cream popped out. In your voice or in your articulation, we don't see any of these qualities. It doesn't have any knowledge. It doesn't have any will. It doesn't have any power. So the things do not match. So that's how what this ayah is actually operating. It starts with, let then man consider his sustenance. What does it mean? Like he says, imagine yourself getting into a classroom. The classroom and the professor will teach you about the water cycle. And the first thing professor says, think about your needs, people. Can you imagine something like that? No, right? Who cares what you need? In the explaining the water cycle. Think about, all your sustenance. Professor wouldn't say that. Why? Because the understanding is that to understand the reality, you have to extract yourself out from the equation and just look at what is there. You cannot think about yourself, your needs, what you feel, what you want, what you wish. You cannot. All you need to do is just count the number of water molecules and the height and then the temperature, etc. It's just counting that is allowed in a classroom. But Ayah says no. You have to start with thinking about yourself. You start with you. That's the first difference the Quran teaches us. If you want to understand the reality, you have to start from yourself. Think about your needs. Think about your wishes, your desires, your thoughts, your ideas. The sustenance means everything. Okay? Think about your life. And then in that light, under that light, let's start looking at for what? For that we pour water in abundance. As you see this water is coming down. But thinking in relationship to your needs. You would say, oh yeah, I feel thirsty and the water is coming down. Oh, my body needs water and the water is coming down. Right? Now a quality emerges there. A need is satisfied. There is a what? Mercy. You start seeing the quality of mercy there in reality. The same fact that amount of water came down. If you just take it as a counting game, the fact is that much of water comes down, and the interpretation is what? Nothing, it happens itself. I just see the water. I don't see anything else. That's the interpretation. But with Quranic wisdom, you said the water is coming down. Yes, that's true. But it's something I need. Something that perfectly matches the way I am designed. Oh, I started seeing knowledge there, the wisdom there now. The perfect match between what you have here inside and what is outside. It starts feeling like, oh, there's a game developer. I'm the part of the game, and the water is also part of the game. And whoever is designing this game knows about all the characters. They are perfectly fitting to each other. Such a wisdom. Now the interpretation changed. The qualities starting emerging. Right? The mercy, compassion, now knowledge, wisdom. I start studying the water using my sciences. I see the speed it comes down. It's a perfect speed, not to harm the vegetation, and it becomes a sustenance for them as well. The speed of it, or the way it falls down, not as a giant blob of water, but tiny the particles designed in a perfect way. So there is a measure there as well. A new quality emerged. How I start seeing them? When I consider my sustenance, my place in this reality, or an animal's place in the reality, animal's sustenance, a plant's sustenance. And it goes like that at the end, for use and convenience to you and your cattle. This is like a summary of every quality you would see in any example of the creation. Right? It says, when you look at the things, think about the qualities you see there. you will see the mercy there. You will see power. Sometimes it's destruction. Sometimes we see power there, right? Some qualities are the not occluding, but being more visible than the others, hiding other qualities. Sometimes it's the power that we experience, an earthquake. We say, wow, such a powerful event, a quality we see there. The ayah says, look at all qualities in one hand, in the effect you see. Do you see any of these qualities in the apparent cause? No. Hence, just like it is so easy to say that, to say Huda, you're saying ice cream is not creating the ice cream. Don't be silly. It's so easy, right? Same way ayah says, it is so easy to say that this vegetable that you eat is not coming from the rain. It is just a way of asking things. If you want to get tomato, creator says, this is the application form you have to fill. First, put some soil and then put a seed in it. You say, okay, checked, I did this, checked. Put some water, I did this. And then you asked it properly, the creator says. Taught us, just like our parents. Right? Teach us. When you fill this application form, he says, okay, I'm processing it. Let me decide whether I will give you tomato or not. You asked it nicely, and I see that you need it. This time I will give you the tomato, he says. But what we do, just like Silly Huda, he said, no, I put everything there, and this gave me the tomato.
So then it looks like there are two alternative worldviews in here, and Quran is inviting us to one of them. Because in one, I'm going to look at how things are happening, and at the end, seeing that, yes, I do benefit from this rain, and my animals also benefit from the rain, and apparently none of the apparent causes in between has those qualities, therefore there must be someone. The other worldview is, it just happened to be as such, and I'm just abusing it. So among these two worldviews, are they equally likely? Or one is a bias, the other one is objective, or vice versa? Like, which, can we clearly say that one is correct, the other one is incorrect? How can we say that? Because this was the point of my brother. What was your name? Sorry. Basil. Okay. Basil was making a point saying that the way we try to do it in science is isolate ourselves out of the picture, so that now we are looking at things, quote unquote, objectively, now that I removed myself from the picture. So is this Quran's suggestion is, no, put yourself into the picture. So is one better than the other? Or they are equally likely? Or one of them is just, I don't know, you want to be visually thinking for whatever comfort of your head. This is why you go with this idea of God. The other one is for the manly one, the strong-willed people. They need to isolate themselves from the picture. So why shall I go with one or the other?
Well, part of the foggy idea that I was thinking earlier is, like something about what we've been discussing for months now, or something that we used to discuss, which is that as you see creation, you see that you should end up acknowledging that there is one designer, and that designer designs everything. There can't, so in that line, you have to take yourself into account, right? We are given consciousness, and we are blessed to think about these things, And I think that it's super important that we like factor ourselves in and think about everything instead of just trying to find explanation for everything in its own environment or in its own context, right? Like it has to be everything within everything. That's what I'm thinking.
I think maybe another aspect that makes it hard to be convinced about one way of thinking, like seeing things as created with a purpose for our sustenance versus just like sort of this system where all these different parts are happening, is that I might not always see benefit. So from this verse, it's saying that all these steps are happening with this measure so that you can receive sustenance. But then maybe I observe things in my life that are happening that don't really appear to me to be something that's bringing sustenance. For example, maybe I got robbed or something. And so the conclusion might be, well, how could it be that the one who is providing me sustenance is then taking away something I perceive to be my sustenance as well? So I think maybe that could be a kind of pit we fall into and can't quite get out of.
So that's a very important point. Any comments on that? Let's talk about that because I think this is really important. If not, maybe we can say something about the word sustenance. It has a positive connotation, nima, right? That's for sure. But the way I understand in this ayah, let man consider his sustenance. The sustenance is everything that is given to you. Anger, a feeling, is given to you. Like you can ask the same questions that we did ask a few minutes ago. You walking on the street, somebody starts shouting at you and tell terrible things about your hijab, right? And you feel this anger, insecurity, together with some other feelings that we don't need to articulate here, right? So you can ask the question, like the first interpretation of this fact, the experience, is that somebody shouted at you, and that shouting created anger in you, right? You can take it this way. Now let's ask the same question. Ayah says, let Zerrin consider what is given to her, the feeling of anger. And then explains, we sent down terrible people who shout bad words and then make these words, travel in the air. The ayah explains, like imagine such an ayah. Travel in the air. We open up her ear so that the wave enters her ear, and then the neurons in her brain they starts firing so that she feels angry. This is the ayah. How we going to interpret this experience, this ayah? Right? It says, look at what you have in one hand and look at the qualities there. You feeling something, right? As a human being, you have a connection, a new connection opened up with the rest of the existence. You want to destroy some part while preserving some other parts. This is your feeling. You want to change things, or you want to shout back, whatever. But something in you being created new that was not there before. And this feeling perfectly fits to the situation. It's not like, somebody starts shouting at you terrible words and you feel joy. It's not like that. It perfectly fits the situation. And the way you feel your anger perfectly fits your character as well, personality. If it was Nibras, for instance, where's Nibras? Nibras would directly take his knife out and start running after the guys, right? We know Nibras is the strong guy. Or if he forgot his knife at home, he would wrestle the guy with the bare hands, right, Nibras? This is how we would manifest the anger. All these actions would be created, and when we watch it, we would say, this perfectly fits Nibras. When it happens to you, though, you feel the anger inside. You start looking somewhere else, a stone maybe, right? Your face gets redder. All these different things are also being created, perfectly fitting your personality. And I say, oh, I see wisdom there again. I see justice there manifested in your feeling. And I ask the question, these waves, the sound waves, can create any of these? Can be source of any of these qualities? I say no. Your sustenance then is directly the anger given by the one who can control everything about you, knowing everything about you, knowing the entire situation, how the waves, sound waves travel in the air, etc. Only this one can be the source of your anger and Nibras's anger. Sustenance is your anger, and the apparent cause is the sound waves, and the ayah says there's no connection between them.
So when the comment was mentioned, I was thinking about it in another way. It's like you see your whole life in front of you and you have different experiences in life, and then you come to a conclusion, or you build yourself a conclusion that everything is happening for a reason. And maybe sometimes you don't see the reasoning, or like maybe you can't understand why this is happening to you. Then maybe you can draw upon all of those previous experiences in your own life that you've been through and say, maybe I am not understanding it this time, but there must be, or there has to be a reason for all of this to happen.
This is a comment to what was mentioned earlier, but is it not selfish to be primarily concerned with your own needs and desires?
Good question. Yep. Anyone?
I think it depends on the level of your concern and what those desires are. Obviously, if you live a life purely to satisfy like base desires, that is frowned upon in the Qur'an. But there's also a hadith of the Prophet, I think, which is whoever knows himself knows his Lord. So if you truly understand like your heart and the things that move it, the things that it sees, then that is like the greatest sign of, or one of the greatest signs to know God. So it's not desire, it's not necessarily concern for like, what am I going to eat? But it's like the deeper concerns that exploring them is like the opposite of selfish.
Very, very, very nice reminder about it. Inshallah, let's study that.
I think Allah also mentions that, you know, His blessings are not only for us, but in the verse for our cattle as well. And He also mentions them in equal. You know, the same resources is given to us, and He says the word your cattle. You know, while it is, you know, we are primarily concerned about ourselves, Allah in the Quran always urges us to think about whether it's our neighbor. Oh. our like our neighbors, the things that we own, and He views us as a custodian. And I feel like that's really a beautiful thing, that we have to understand that things come from Allah and we're His custodian. He will question us, you know, how did we allocate the resources and blessings that He gave to us?
Natalia.
And just a quick comment on that. I think that like a lot of the things within ourselves are the mysteries that we first start to question. You know, like I think that it doesn't even have to root from like a selfish desire. And I thought the same thing. Like I was thinking the same question, but then I was like, well, like the first thing you might ask ever is like, you know, like why am I hungry, or what are my needs? And I think that through that lens, it may not be as selfish as much as just, you know, curiosity to have that answer. And I think that that's the first path of curiosity.
And I guess also when I'm going to think about others, still I can think about others as much as I can relate to them. So if there is no me, there is no sense of hunger, for example, in you, you cannot really feel a pity for hungry people out there. So it's always starting, like our relationship with the rest of existence is starting from us and our feelings. So this is really our measuring yard, if you like, measuring stick or reference point. So this is why Quran putting ourselves at the center is just inviting us to honesty. Even when we are observing something in the lab, still we are using some of our qualities. We are just trying to isolate some aspect of ourselves from our experiments. If we were to totally isolate ourselves from the experiments, we wouldn't be able to make any observation anyways. Because observation is, again, being done with a part of your humanity. Let it be your eyes, let it be your hearing, something. Like you are still using your humanity to interact with anything in this existence. So the way we do our experiments is we just don't want to interfere some of our aspects for whatever reason. We don't want to put them into the equation and then call it objective experimentation and whatnot. But Quran is in here genuinely inviting us to honesty, saying that, look, you are the measure of this existence. You as a human being, with all your feelings. So put this into equation, and then you will inevitably see that the outcome is there to benefit you. And then where else do you see any quality in any of those causes to carry this notion of caring about you, having a mercy or a pity on you? Like this is in the outcome, but there's nowhere in between. So I guess Quran in here really is inviting human to honesty. Like going back to my initial question, was the two worldviews, one is better than the other? One is honest, the other one is dishonest. Because there's no escape. You will bring your humanity into the picture. It's just a claim that I am isolating myself and then making an, objective observation. No, it is that I don't want to bring in my neediness into the picture. I don't want to bring in my desires into the picture. But some other aspects of me, it's okay. They are allowed to be brought into the laboratory when we do experiments, but not the others. So in this regard, Quran is inviting us to honesty.
And when ayah says, let the human consider their sustenance, or when we say we have to put ourselves into the equation, we have to start from ourselves, desires, wishes, the ideas, feelings, everything about us. It doesn't mean that you should act according to your whims. It means you have to consider what is in you as well. Like let's go with the hadith, the narration brother reminded us. The one who knows the soul, his nafs, right, knows his Lord. So we can understand it in many ways, but one way to understand is when you look at yourself, to the extent you realize all your needs, and to the extent you realize that all these needs are sustained, you can understand the sustainer. If you don't realize your needs, that I'm a needy person and these needs are sustained, if you cannot understand this, there is no way, and I will make my the blunt comment, I apologize in advance, but for someone who is not aware of his needs or her needs, and being aware that these needs are sustained, there is no way that this person can believe that there's such a thing as sustainer. You cannot. The word sustainer wouldn't mean a single thing for you. To the extent you know yourself, that I'm a needy person and these needs are sustained, you can know the sustainer. Your belief in the sustainer, the Lord, starts from your belief in yourself, in your reality. I'm a needy person. I need wisdom. Wisdom is given to me. Only this way you can believe all wise one. There's no way other. Unless you see wisdom manifested in this creation through the sustenance of needs, this is the only way you can know the all-wise one. Otherwise, it doesn't mean that you just try to maximize your, the benefits, you act according to your whims, desires, wishes, etc. No. Ayah says, think about your wishes. Take them into consideration. Who can create your wishes? Who can create your feelings? Because your claim is that my feelings are my feelings, I create them. Or an angry person shouting creates my anger. That is your claim. Ayah says, no, think about them, consider them. Can you create your feelings? If you can, when your wife starts shouting at you, create joy in you. Can you? No. So this is what it means to consider. Who is the source of your wishes? Who is the source of your whims even? You are a jealous person. Who is the source of this jealousy? Who can create such a thing in you? That's the consideration.
So I think at least how I understood, I think a crucial part of all of this is when the ayah says that then let man consider, because like you can spend your whole life mindlessly just eating the food you're given, not thinking about the rain. So I went back in the surah, and just the ayah preceding this ayah in Surah Abasa, it says that indeed he did not fulfill that which Allah had commanded him. So I feel like it ties it all back to, like, when you're thinking about yourself, you also need to think about, like, what's your purpose as like as a human? Why are you here? And when you start thinking about that, then anything that you experience in this life, regardless of how minuscule it is, there needs to be a purpose behind it. So I think food is, at times, people who do have food, sometimes they take it for granted. It's only the people who don't have the food where they actually can focus on their need, that I am hungry and I don't have the sustenance right now. So I think it's, at least that's what attracted me, that the word that you should think about it. If you have the food, how does it come to you? And then the way it goes down, just talking about rain and then connecting it to food, but it says, within the grand scheme of your purpose in this world, is it just the rain bringing you food, or is there something else behind it? And that's how it connects to all the names of Allah. And yeah, I think the consideration, the thinking about stuff, it should be applied to not just this, but everything that you experience in your life and how you can connect it to what your purpose is in this world.
Jazakallah. Please.
So then just tie this back to Hajj then. So Hajj is the time which, as Rasulullah says, Hajj is Arafat, and Arafat is, you just go there and stand. Like the worship in Hajj, Arafat is just standing or posing. Actually, the word used as waqfa. So you just waqaf, you just go there and pose. So it's a time where you ponder upon what you have been up to, because as how we started today's discussion, this is going to be a time where you're looking for a change. And as Rasulullah again says, the after an accepted Hajj, a proper Mabrur Hajj, the person is going to be like born anew from their mom. They're going to be as clean. So making such a transformation, this is what's happening in Hajj. So my relationship with my food, or my relationship with my anger. Like my students are being super angry if I ask a certain type of question in the exam. Why they're angry? Because they don't know the answer. Like, I mean, pause and think about, why is this guy asking that question? Like, what is the benefit of that question to me? Either the professor is crazy, possible, but if the professor is not crazy, then maybe there's a point in this way of instruction. Pause and understand, rather than trying to immediately respond with your like selfish, but in this case, selfish meaning something that I disliked. Pause and think. And this is what's being done in Hajj. So just to wrap up today's discussion then, pause and think, what am I up to? Where is my food coming from? Where is my love to my daughter is coming from? Why do I love this? Or why is he cute? Just cuteness. Sometimes we simply say it's cute. I enjoy it because it's cute. Actually, your genes. Yeah. So pausing is a time, this is how Hajj starts. And then Hajj, eventually we stone Satan. We first collect stone and then throw those stones at Satan. After stoning Satan, we sacrifice an animal. Sacrificing the animal is to, as Brother Birkan was highlighting, really cutting the connection between cause and effect. The apparent cause and effect. I thought, she was cute, this is why I enjoy. Cause and effect. My joy is caused by her cuteness. So after this journey, then I'm going to slaughter this connection. And I will say that, no, my joy is being given by the one who gave cuteness to her. Both of them are coming from the same source. This is why the animal was sent from the skies to Ibrahim. Like Ibrahim is knowing that the animal that he's going to sacrifice is coming from the skies. So the joy comes from the skies, cuteness comes from the skies, meaning from above and beyond. It's not from me, it's not from her. So this, and very beautifully, I mean, the beautiful part of this verse is, it is taking us to the laboratory of life. And it's not using any extra jargon. It's just giving us an example of what we eat and what we see outside. It didn't talk about I don't know, anything fancy. It didn't say, oh, particle colliders and I don't know, any heavy law jargon, any heavy physics jargon. No jargon. It's simply life. And it is so profound than any of those jargon loaded explanations.
I think just building off of that, I feel like you should, because as the surah continues, it talks about like immediately after this, as provision for both you and your livestock, it talks about, so when the deafening blast comes, on that day man will flee from his brothers and from his mother and his father. And I think this is again just a reminder that by then it will be too late for you to do this consideration. Like this life is given to you to consider, to pause, to do waqf, and to think about these things. So don't wait until that moment comes where you have no other option but to start thinking about these things. By then it will be too late.
So if you do not cut it off, then you will be cut off. That day is the time that you are being cut off. You come to the end and you realize that it is the end of the road for me. I am now dying. This gives the moment of, as in the description that follows, you're going to, like your brother or sister has no benefit to you, you escape from them. Like this is a point where you find yourself in this life. Then if I feel like causes were producing the effects, since I didn't cut this, then everything became my enemy. And now I come to the end of life, and every moment is end of your life, actually. Then you find yourself in this anguish. So for your own good, actually, you should cut this relationship. This is why in Surah Kawthar, we were commanded to slaughter. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْهَرْ. I mean, this is getting Kawthar to be given this unending river. We will need to slaughter or like sacrifice. Otherwise, I'm going to get stuck. I will find myself stuck in this cause and effect relationship. So that slaughtering is going to make me free. If not, I'm going to, as now the following verses explain, I find myself in this anguish of a turning point. So it's not necessarily end of times and it's being late. Every moment is you're going to find yourself in this anguish of nothingness.
Okay, Jazakallah, we have 4 minutes left. Any final comments, remarks? Who wants to summarize? We started with ladies, maybe we can finish with gentlemen. What was it? Okay, yeah. Would you like to summarize what you understand? Okay, how about you, Mustafa? No? You? No? Nobody? You want to summarize, all the discussion?
Might cause some issues.
Sorry?
Like an option nobody wants to take.
Okay. Would you like to?
We just want to hear your summary.
Okay, it's okay, inshallah. So maybe a few highlights. The ayahs, these ayahs that we read invite us to read the reality in a certain way without leaving anything out, right? Including yourself. This is the one thing that we leave out most when it comes to our life. We don't think about ourselves, how we fit into this picture. What just happened? Ayah says, start from there. What happened to you in this experience? What been created in front of you, in you? Start from there. And then see the process of this happening in front of you. And see all the qualities emerging in this process. And ask the question, any part of this process, any part of this experience that you had, let it be a feeling of anger, let it be a nice ice cream, a joy of graduating, of finding a new job, or finding a new job and then getting another offer from another company, even better, and you find out yourself in a position to decide between the two. Just a hypothetical example, right? Yeah, nothing. Yeah. In such a experience, think what is in front of you, what qualities you see there, and ask, can any part of this experience be the source of these qualities? Whether you're working hard can be the source of this. Whether the boss, whoever is offering the job, can be the source of this. Ask these questions, Ayah says, and don't forget the outcome. When you ask this question, don't forget the outcome as well. Try to see whether this the false god, the boss of the person shouting, can shoulder this outcome. Can he create this feeling in you? Ask these questions, Ayah says, and you will just as easy as you tell Huda, just because you scream ice cream is not created, Huda. You just ask for it and it is given to you. As easy as that, you will say, whatever I learn is not created just because I stare at the book. By staring at the book, I asked for learning, and the learning, the understanding, the knowledge is created in my mind. We will say it as easy as that. Ice cream and Huda. That's my understanding of today's discussion. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.